Hope you had a wonderful July off. It seems like it's been a long time since we've had a meeting and had county business, but I'm anxious to get back to it. Do we need to call roll, Rachel? All right.
Commissioner Dodd? Commissioner Piercy?
Here.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Here.
Commissioner Blair?
Here.
Commissioner Harris?
Here.
Chairman Cush?
Yes,
we
here.
have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have minutes from the last meeting, Rachel? Of course they are. I would like to ask Vice Chair Piercy to, if he's had a chance to review, if he would make a recommendation on those minutes.
I have reviewed the minutes, Mr. Cush, and I find them all in order, and I move for their approval.
Thank you. So we have a motion. We need a second. We have a second from Shanto. All in favor, please signify aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, let's move right into committee reports. Let's hear from the Highway Department. We're so glad you are here to visit us instead of that boss of yours.
We've been working very hard.
I'm sure you have, and it's noticeable too.
I have three things tonight. I think we're going to start with these would be our drainage easement approval. We had our road board commission meeting yesterday morning, and there was a temporary drainage easement for Plainview Pike, Section 4, Lot 66, which is address 3545 Baltimore Court. This is simply to be able to go in and do some work behind the home in the ditch where there is a into this ditch, and we're doing a little work to help keep the water in the ditch. And this passed unanimous from our road board.
All right. Do you have a similar?
That's my only drainage
That's your only
easement.
one?
Yes,
okay.
sir. I have two other budget amendments.
All right. Let's ask any questions, and we would need a motion to move that on.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right. All those in favor signify aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. All right. Let's talk money.
Okay. The first budget amendment that I've got is for our Plainview road improvements around the school. We've come to you each August the last 2 years to move the money that we finished up with on June 30th. This is the remaining money of our initial $5 million. We started with 3, and last year we put the other 2 in. So this is the remaining of up to the $5 million that the Highway Department agreed to put towards Phase 1. You'll notice that we will be decreasing our fund-in balance by $927,235. That would be distributed through engineering services, other contracted services, asphalt, crushed stone, general construction material, pipe, other supplies and material, and right-of-way. All of this is has the cost center of being earmarked strictly for the Plainview area road improvements.
All right. Any questions?
Can I make a comment, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. You may.
I don't say very much on this. I haven't a whole lot, but good job.
Well, we
really
appreciate
good job
it.
on what y'all did. I mean, to come in under budget, and then, I mean, it's just a great job.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, and I want to go on record to say that we have 69 employees, and the crew that kind of handled this, the biggest part of the time, was a 5-man crew. We were able to do these improvements and maintain just, I think it's like 970 county road miles every day. So thank you for that, and I will definitely pass it along.
I would also like to echo my congratulations for a job well done, and thank the superintendent and all of the staff members involved, because those roads out there were not school bus ready until y'all gave your best effort. So again, tell the superintendent he has our gratitude.
Yes, sir, I sure will. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Sunday at the ribbon cutting for Plainview, I don't think anybody's going to say anything and give kudos to our Mr. Brooks, our superintendent, nor the department and the board for everything that they've done. And so Veronica, Commissioner Buchanan, was on the agenda to speak because that's her district. And so I prompted her to throw in a few kudos while she was there. And so she did say thank you, because the right-of-ways wouldn't have been done, the roads wouldn't have been done, and still today, what you all did is making the safety for the children, the buses, the parents driving those kids out there, because they did a great job getting to that school. And, Mr. Chairman, I'm preparing a resolution for next Thursday night full commission, so if you could have Mr. Brooks, ask him to come, and anybody else we'd like to honor them, because if you all hadn't done what you did and taken the money out of your ending fund balance, those roads would still be there. If we'd had to put that out to bid, it'd be another year or two of getting that done. So, and they said he can't do it again.
One and done.
Yeah, one and done. He can't do it again.
Well,
but we really, really
We
appreciate it.
appreciate it. And for the record, I might be off a week, but if I understood Mr. Brooks yesterday morning, 1 year, 2 months, and 2 weeks.
Wow.
From the first day that we put the shovel on the ground.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And we have binder on everything, and half of it's topped with topping. So we're moving along.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, we had a question. Is there any more questions or comments before we enter a motion?
Move to approve.
All right, need a second? All right, let's roll call.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Mr. Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris. Yes. Mr. Dodd.
Yes.
Chairman Kush.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, let's talk salary.
Okay, my last budget amendment is for a salary increase. This will be a salary increase across the board for every employee at the Rutherford County Highway Department. This also includes the benefits for this increase. There will be $84,620 coming out of our fund ending balance and for the highway department, and then out of the public works fund ending balance for their crew is $13,490. This does include their salary and their benefits for this increase. And this will go in effect once y'all have approved our monies.
Is that equivalent to the 4% lift, or is this on top of the 4% lift?
Our guys got just across the board an hourly rate increase. We didn't do a percentage, and so this again is another hourly rate increase across the board for it's the same for everybody. So we didn't play with the percentages this time, we just did cents on the dollar.
I'll make the motion to approve the request.
We have a motion and a second by Commissioner P.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes. Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Chairman Kush.
Yes.
And that's all I have for tonight's business,
All
sir.
right, thank you. We will see
Yes,
you
sir.
at full commission.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's go. I believe we have building codes. Tanya?
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
Good.
All right.
See, I see I see 7 reports on my,
You do?
where are we going to start?
Okay. I'm going to start with June. I'm going to give you a couple of numbers, just how we finished out the fiscal year for 2021. So we finished out the year with a total of 4,430 permits, which was up from 3,850 the year before, which was approximately about 15%. Of those 4,430, 1,056 of those were single-family dwellings, also up about 15% from the year before.
%growth or increase in permits is what you're
Yes,
saying? All right.
yes. I'm not going to get into development tax and stuff, because I'm sure you guys all went over that in the budget, so you know what the end-of-year numbers were for development tax for the fiscal year 2021, unless you would like me to. Does anybody want to go over those numbers? No? Okay. All right, then I'll go on into July. We issued a total of 345 permits for the month of July. That was up a little bit from last month, and 81 single-family dwellings last month, as opposed to 75 from June. We did 1,826 inspections and drove about 9,500 miles in the month of July. All right, and if you have no questions, I will get into development tax and school facilities tax a little bit. This is our first month reporting school facilities tax, so if you would like it reported a different way or different numbers or anything, just let me know. I just kind of brought what I thought you might be interested in. So, development tax, as you know, we grandfathered in everything that was already existing in a recorded subdivision. So for development tax, we collected $175,500 for the month of July. School facilities tax, the square footage that was calculated, so the total liability for school facilities tax, and as you know, we collect this payment half up front when the permit's issued, and then half of it's collected before the CO is issued. We did find this month, though, that there were several homeowners and builders alike that chose to pay the full amount up front. So I don't know how much of that we'll see. Probably the next couple of months will give us a better picture of that. But the total square footage liability for the month of July was $385,118, and you can see that broken down into the different jurisdictions where that fell under. The total collected, the total monies collected was $206,123.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Chairman Harris. $25?
It is, 'cause I would imagine, if I had to guess, and I didn't look into it, but if I had to guess, everything that all their single families permits that they permitted this month was probably already in a recorded subdivision. And we collected that under the development tax. They had $14,250 in development tax. So I would imagine that's $25, that was probably in addition. July?
I'm sorry, July?
Probably just the one addition. Yeah, they would have done single-family dwellings, but I imagine that all of those single-family dwellings were already in a recorded subdivision and therefore collected under the development tax. So the school facilities tax applies to new single-family dwellings and additions.
With the city, with the
Yep.
municipalities, is that?
It is certain, yes, certainly, we're seeing a good communication between all of us. They've called several times and asked questions, sent stuff our way. We've reviewed it and determined whether it was applicable or not.
Have you had any?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Everything's been, touch wood, smooth for the first 30 days. So far, so good. Anybody else have any questions on the school facilities tax?
Continue on.
All right, so that brings me to zoning enforcement. And zoning enforcement, in the month of July, we did 162 inspections.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor.
That's it.
Tanya, on the last two items on the list, citations issued, number of citations issued to environmental court and court cases, number of cases appearing in environmental court. You know, this committee and I think the county, we're really trying to step it up and get serious about illegal dumping. Matter of fact, right before we came up here, got a call from Commissioner Buchanan. She has a lady in her district who dumped a whole lot of trash over the weekend. And of course, Commissioner Pettis donated at Publix, was it last month? I can't remember what. Public Safety, he donated 2 trail cams, and so Lieutenant Peralta out at Correctional Work Center is going out tomorrow and meeting with her, and they're going to install the trail cams to see if they can catch who's out there illegal dumping. Do we ever issue out of your office, and then how many get thrown out when they go to the environmental court?
So, illegal dumping is, as you know, the 2 trail cams that were donated, they're hard to catch. Was this on personal property, or was it on private property, or was it on the right-of-way? Or
private property.
Private property. So a lot of times we'll get the call from the property owner, we'll get a call from a neighbor or something that says that there's a pile of trash on a vacant piece of property, almost always vacant pieces of property. And unfortunately, we have to catch whoever is doing it in the act. We can't just assume we know who did it. Now, I believe the last time that Judge Eichscheid was here, she said that we could use video footage or pictures for that, even if they came from a customer or a citizen. So far, we haven't been able to, on an illegal dumping, we haven't been able to verify or be on site when it actually happens. We almost always find out after the fact. I can only remember one time when we got a call that it was actually happening. It was in progress when we got the call, and we went out there and they were gone. So it's hard for us to write a citation to anybody when we don't know who it was.
It's just bringing community awareness, and I think the more citizens, the more media. Maybe we need to step it up through our PIO and get it out on our social network. At least we have the commitment from the judge that she'll stand behind it if we can actually catch them. I did tell Commissioner Buchanan, make sure that Lieutenant Peralta hangs them high, because somebody will see them and end up stealing the cameras.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Question for the mayor. Crime Stoppers, could that be incorporated into, I mean, illegal dumping is a pretty serious offense in my mind these days. Is that something that, you know, if people could be reported and stay anonymous, you know, and be paid for the information? I'm wondering out loud.
That's something we could, I'll be happy to check that out and report back to you on that, Commissioner. You know, I've got 2 sponsors set to go in January. The Senate Chairman of Environmental Committee in the Senate, he's going to introduce the bill in the Senate. Chairman Faison in the House lives up in Cotton County, and of course lives right on the edge of the Great Smoky Mountains, does a lot of hiking. He's going to carry the bill in the House. The problem is that in talking with Judge Eichscheid, we have 2 conflicting sections of the code. One section of the code says that communities can implement higher fines other than $25, but right now it's $25, and usually they get thrown out. But another section of the code says that if a person objects and wants a jury trial for the $25 fine, then they can request a jury trial. However, general session judges do not have the authority in another section of the code to seat a jury. That's only in circuit. So we got 3 different conflicting sections of the code that need to be brought together and cleaned up for this purpose. So hopefully they're going to introduce a bill that will be statewide. similar to what Georgia has. If you've been down the interstate in Georgia, it's $1,000 signs all the way to the Florida line, for illegal dumping, if you've seen those. So probably they're looking at $500 first offense statewide, $1,000 offense second offense. $25, people buy more of that in beer on the weekend and throw the cans out. So
is that something that, as a committee, that Mr. Cush will hear motion to make a resolution to support this bill?
Yes, sir. I think that would have a lot of teeth coming from the full commission and send that to our delegation, the entire legislative delegation, so when they go back in January that they're behind it and agree to it. Yes, sir.
A lot of information goes to these committees. We have a lot of meetings, so I get lost on some things that we done a while back. Do we not have a grant to buy cameras?
We do not.
But have them given to us?
I try to get some cameras from TDOT. They have available grants that they'll give out across the state. The grant money was depleted. I don't know if they've refilled it. I haven't talked to them since their new fiscal year started, at the end of, or the beginning of last month, 30 days ago, to see if they have more. But when I contacted them in June, they didn't have any more to buy those cameras with. So it would be a first come, first serve, and I don't know how many they give out during the year, but that's when Pettis stepped up and he brought 2 with him. He heard Veronica's plea and...
Mr. Chairman, trail cameras are not that expensive, and you can even get the ones that have remote Wi-Fi attached to them, that as soon as it happens, even if somebody saw the camera and took it, their picture's going to be in the cloud, and we've got access to it immediately. So, I mean, I'd be willing to bring that to budget, $300, $400, $500 would get you several cameras.
And then let the litter crew at the Correctional Work Center put them up.
If that comes out of this committee or, public safety, whatever y'all like to do, if you want to do something about it, we can get more trail cameras out there. I mean, I just bought 2, and I paid less than $60 for 2 of them. These weren't Wi-Fi, but they work. I promise you.
How often do they need to be charged?
They have batteries in them, so it depends on the model that you buy. So I can't say.
Okay.
The ones that I've got have like a AA alkylide, and they last for, say, probably 3 or 4 months, maybe a little longer. They're not pulling a lot of power.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about it. Illegal dumping and dumping on vacant property and other people's property is by far the hardest zoning issue that we've got to enforce. And unfortunately, a lot of the times it falls on the property owner. When somebody dumps on their property, the property owner is the only person that we can call to try and resolve it, and it's not their fault. So trail cameras, if we could offer them some sort of, especially if it happens on a regular basis. Sometimes it's a one-off thing, and sometimes somebody calls us and says, this happens every weekend. And we advise them to put trail cameras out.
So Tanya, if we had a handful of cameras, do you have a handful of hot spots or repeat offender spots?
We definitely have a couple of areas that get a lot of activity where it comes to illegal dumping, for sure. And we have, a couple of inspectors that could go out and install them.
I'm not an expert on trail cameras, so I don't know if anybody here is, but, if one of y'all want to research it, if you'd like to research it and say, hey, come to me at budget Thursday night, or if you got time to do it, or bring it to the full commission, I'll bring it up on the floor. But I mean, we got to do something about this.
Yeah, if it's acceptable to Judge Eichscheid, if it's an acceptable means of prosecution, then we'd be happy to do it. But
Who can give us? Who can give? I'm in. I'm ready to make a motion right now, but I don't know what.
Yeah.
Who would we talk to on that? Her or mayor?
Let me ask, does anybody here sit on public safety? I would think, I'm assuming, I know that's dangerous. Does the sheriff's department have any IT or camera folks that,
You know, I don't know. I can ask and find out. I've done a lot of reading on this. I mean, I'm not an expert, but, you know, they've got stealth cameras out there. And basically, cameras at night, you know, if these guys are doing it at night, what'll happen is that a regular trail camera will throw a flash. These stealth cameras do not.
yeah.
They'll pick you up in the dark. And, you know, that may be, and they cost more. You know, they may be as much as $200 a piece with Wi-Fi and that, and there's a service for Wi-Fi. So, like I said, I can get some numbers together, but if you want to go to a stealth service, or if you want just a plain Jane, you can get a trail camera for about $30 on sale. You know, it's going to throw a flash, but it takes a good, clear picture. You just download them.
Well, maybe if it throws a flash, they'll take off.
Yeah, if there's a flash on there and somebody sees it, yeah, they could probably climb the tree and get it down. You know, if it's not Wi-Fi, then you've lost your camera and your chip, and you don't have anything. But, you know, if you went to the stealths where they've got the Wi-Fi, it immediately transmits, somebody does take it, you're going to see them taking it.
Well, I'm saying maybe if they see a flash, they'll take off and not dump.
Well, that's possible, too. Like I said, you know, I'm open to suggestions on there, and I can come back with a range of what's out there if y'all want to hear it.
Yeah.
You know, there's three of us here on budget. We can see it Thursday. I can have some numbers together for Thursday for that, if y'all want to look at it then. But not just me alone. If y'all want to do it, I mean, we can do it.
Well, I think we should have a motion then to pass it to budget
Yeah.
for them to do that. And I make that motion that we pass this, for us to obtain cameras for dumping, to budget to be considered for the full commission.
Let's say illegal dumping.
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Do we need to put a dollar amount, and whose budget will that come from? Will that come from codes? Will that come from Public Works? Where will that
It would come from hers, wouldn't it?
It's not in your budget.
Appreciate that.
What about money on any other fines that you bring in? We could possibly pull it from that?
We don't collect fines or
collect any
anything. No,
fines?
it's all done through the courts.
What?
When they do it, it's very, very seldom,
Chairman, why
very
don't we
rare.
talk to Lisa and see where we can pull it from?
Right. I mean, I don't have any problem pulling it out of undesignated myself, but, you know, there's a place we can easily pull it. You know, there may be something in Mac's budget or Mr. Cope's budget that we can pull it from pretty easy. We're probably not talking over, if we went to the highest grade, you know, if we wanted to get, say, 10 cameras, I'm still saying 1,500, 2,000, somewhere in there, so.
Did you copy that, Rachel, that motion? Or do we need a repeat? Do you want to try and read back the motion?
To obtain, obtain cameras for illegal dumping and forward to budget to review funding.
And I think Wayne had a second.
Yeah,
All right.
I got the second, so.
All right, do we need a roll call on that since it's money?
Yeah, since it's money.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioner Blair,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Chairman Cush.
Yes.
Chairman Cush, we might want to try to reach out to TWRA. They may have some cameras, you know, that they could loan us, sell us cheap, something they've confiscated, you know, through the woods, hunting illegally. You know, it might be worth a shot.
Good idea.
I'll ask Laura in the office tomorrow. Rachel, remind me and see if there's anything on statewide contract that we might be able to buy, you know, no tax, et cetera. So we'll check that. And Chairman, if you'll check, I got a text from Chairman P. He said Stealth is the best brand name Wi-Fi.
I think we should go with stealth. I mean, in my personal opinion, I think we should go with something where,
Yeah.
you know, if they see a flash and then we're looking at losing 5 cameras, you know.
Right. I'm in agreement with that.
I mean, I'd like you to just get those numbers, Commissioner.
I'll get you prices on both the Stealth and the Plain Jane, so.
Yep, even if we were to start with 1 or 2, 3 possibly, to get in a couple of locations. Yeah, but yeah, just,
I just
You got two
had,
now.
I just had one more thing on while we're discussing this. Mayor, you said we got a POI, the POI is going to be doing an announcement on,
I can get Ashley to put it on RCTV, we can put it on our website, we can put it on our Twitter account. Yeah, we need to be pumping it and letting people know, especially during COVID, everybody's cleaning their stuff out, and if by chance they're closed at the convenience center, they just go looking for some empty place and nobody's watching, and it ends up on the side of the road, and that property belongs to somebody.
do we offer a reward for anybody that comes forward and brings us proof of
Not to
dumping?
my knowledge, no,
Is
sir.
that something that we can discuss and be able to do?
Well, that's kind of along the line of Wayne's Crime Stopper idea, that if you turn somebody in and get $50 or
Mr.
whatever.
Chairman, I wish we could perhaps, I don't know if we do it next meeting or what, but when we reviewed TCA, the fines went up rather dramatically for cubic yard or weight or some kind of they quantified the amount of trash that was dumped.
That's correct.
It went up to like $2,500, I believe. And the person who turns it in can collect
That's correct.
an amount equal to the fine. I don't know where those funds came from, though, if it was met by the county or if it was the state.
Have a stay.
All right, so I think there's a pretty robust reporting
I
system.
agree with you, but what I want to do is I want to promote this on the POI. That's what I'm saying. I understand what
Do
you're
you remember
saying.
that? Do you remember seeing that?
Yeah, I do remember that. I just want it to be out to the public so the public be able to understand and know that, and we could get another set of eyes.
Sure. I mean, even if we just did it for 6 months, it would be, to get the ball rolling. It would-
And Mr. Chairman, perhaps Ashley could pull up a couple of excerpts from the code and post it.
Tanya, what else do you have?
that's it, I'm all done.
All right, we need to make a motion to approve her reports. And a second from Vice Chair Piercy. All those in, well, let's see, any money? Did we change any money? No. All those in favor signify aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
All right, thank you, have a wonderful night.
All right, Doug.
Good evening, Commissioners. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. All right, we have got our normal reports tonight. I will start with our available lot inventory. Through the end of July of this year, the available lots is down to 731. Again, those are lots that are recorded, permitted, well, not permitted, but ready to be permitted, pretty much on the ground right now. You can see how that compares to this time last year. We're down about 100 lots or so. This actually did go down about 50 lots from last month. This past month, we didn't have a whole lot of activity as far as recording of any new, larger section final plats. Got a couple smaller amendment plats go through that were recorded, so the inventory itself as far as new lots didn't change. Our Planning Commission, we did review a new preliminary plan for about 20 to 30 lots or so, and then several larger sections of existing subdivisions that are already out there, new sections of, say, Davenport Station. I think Clearview Acres was one of them, Nature Walk was one. So we are seeing activity, still pretty robust, just didn't translate to any recording of plats last month. I will call your attention, this is just for some information for you all, just to kind of show you what the trend line looks like. At the very end of that report, with the available lots and then those lots that aren't recorded yet, you'll see there's a chart on there that we've been keeping up with since we started this particular report back in January of 2009. You can see this is the available lot inventory by month over the last 10 plus years or so. You can see when we first started it, of course, you remember 09, 10, 11, we were kind of in a recession during that time. So you can see how the available lot inventory at its peak, now I'm not saying it's never been higher than that, but since we've been tracking it, you can see at its peak it was 1,688 lots, again recorded on the ground, ready for permits. Then you can see over the next several years until about right before, I guess that'd be fall of 2016 going into 2017, kind of bottomed out a little bit at 548, and you kind of saw it kind of meander a little bit through the 600 to 700 range. Started going up within the last couple years till about January, late 2019, early 2000. Of course, you can see even with the pandemic over the last year and a half or so, you can see the numbers, while there was a little bit of a peak in there last year and maybe in a portion of this year, for the most part, it's been trending down over the last several months. So this is something that we do keep up with. I don't bring this particular chart to you every month, but this kind of gives you an idea of what we've been looking at from a trend over the last several months and years when you look at the entirety of the chart. So I just thought that'd be something that you'd be interested in taking a look at.
When you agree that those prices, the reason we're dropping right now is because prices have elevated so high to build a house? I'm seeing in my business to where a majority of people are waiting out the storm because lumber prices have almost up 40-some%.
Sure. Well, and the available lot is, I think a lot of that's the function too, that we're just not seeing right now just a whole lot extra lots being recorded. I think that's going to change over the next several months with the ones going through. But, with Tanya's report, I think she said there was about 80 or 86 last month. Even with that, we're still seeing activity. But I would agree. I can speak for myself, where we're hoping to build a house this year. But that's been kind of put on hold until things kind of stabilize a little bit. So I can definitely say that does play a part. Yes, sir. If there's no questions or other comments or anything on that, I'll go ahead and jump into our rezoning report. We'll have 2 applications for your consideration next week. The Planning Commission did consider 3. There was one on Old Nashville Highway that was deferred until this month, so that will not come before you. That'll go to the Planning Commission again this month. So that first one that we'll talk about is for some property located on Stewart Creek Road. Existing zoning is RM, and they're looking to do a planned unit development for about 161 acres. They're looking to develop a 159-lot residential single-family subdivision. The minimum lot sizes will be either 10,500 or 15,000 square feet, being if it's a medium, quote-unquote, or large lot. Since these comments were written, the pattern book that you have on your iPads, we just received revisions to today. So this report is not quite as up-to-date as the changes they made in that pattern book. The biggest change they made in the pattern book, and I'll just go over these real quick, the number of lots total haven't changed, but instead of 59 of the larger lots, they did drop one to 58, and they did add one medium lot, and that was because they did make a few tweaks to the master plan that you will see on the iPads. If you had any questions on that, I'd be more than happy to go into those. But essentially, based on some of the comments we had at the Planning Commission meeting, they took a couple of lots off that were fronting directly onto Stewart Creek Road. We asked them to take those off just because extra driveway connections, so they did. And they also added a stub street to the north, so they just reconfigured a little bit. Again, the total number of lots hasn't changed, just the distribution, just very slightly. 66 acres of this site are being set aside as natural area due to the steep slopes of the property on the eastern side of the site. They're also proposing some amenity areas and stormwater ponds throughout the development. Access to the property will be from 2 separate access points to Stewart Creek Road. Again, stub outs are shown pretty much to every direction except to the east, really, because there's really nowhere for it to go, even if they had one. They also are proposing to soften the curve. One of the curves in Stewart Creek Road where this development is located, if you're familiar with the road, they're pretty sharp curves through there. Part of their development, they are proposing to kind of soften one of those curves a little bit. Really, the biggest concern we had over here is, on this particular application, was related to traffic safety and the condition of Stewart Creek Road. There were some comments about drainage and the character of the area and the density of the development. We did explain to the people who were there, there was some comments about the distribution of the lots between medium and large lots. Of course, we told them that the large lots of 15,000 square feet, those are allowed by right even today. It's really the medium lots is what the majority of the planned development was for. They are also going to have turn lanes onto the main entrance into that development. There was also some questions about the scope of the traffic study, which our engineer Mike Hughes was able to answer, the adequacies of public facilities for the PUD, and again, its condition of Stewart Creek Road. After discussion, there was a failed motion to deny for lack of a second, but the Planning Commission ultimately did recommend approval of the request by a vote of 5 for and 1 against. The second application, unless there's any questions.
I've got some questions on this one.
Sure.
I've heard some comments from planning commissioners that really, the roads was the main concern about that. Of course, Chairman Cush, I'm sure you got a good idea. I don't know how you voted on that, but, I've heard that there's problems with the roads in there. Exactly, in this drawing, how far is that from our school?
From the Stewart Creek School, it'd be closer as the crow flies. I don't have a distance for you, Commissioner P. I apologize, but there's not a direct way to get there. That was, I think, one of the major concern, that there's not a direct path to Almaville Road. That was mentioned several times. I don't know what the direct distance is, though.
But you're gonna work on this curve. You're also gonna add turning lanes, and I really like to see a better map than what I'm getting here. Maybe you got some if I dig further. Yeah. I should have dug a little bit further. I'm seeing your maps now but I just get concerned when I see that kind of density and you got that kind of traffic. That's why, every time I've got one coming up in my area, I'm asking for turning lanes there, because, our roads are narrow, and I know the roads over there are narrow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes, sir.
any of them substandard to the county's main road? I think they're, 21 feet, aren't they, Dodd? I think that's
a
standard.
typical road, you're going to have two 11-foot lanes, basically, is what you're going to have. I can have that information before the meeting. I don't know off the top of my head.
If any of those roads are substandard, I think we ought to hold these developers' feet to the fire and make them bring them up to standards. If not, we're going to be reaching in our pockets. When I say our, I'm talking about all our citizens, and pay for this development. Let the developer pay for it. He's the one making money off of it.
Sure, and to your point, with the improvements that they will make, there will be improvements to at least that section of the road. Now, obviously, we can't make them do the entire road, as you know, but at least we're happy that they're at least doing that portion of it. So,
And I'll repeat this. I know Murfreesboro City is doing this for a while, as they're putting money into escrow.
Yes, sir.
Parts like that. And to me, I think that's something we need to look into. I don't know if y'all have looked at it at planning.
We've had discussions about that. Yes, sir.
I'd kind of like to have y'all review that again and talk to us about it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
who's responsible for putting up some warning signs? There's three pretty much hairpin turns right there that basically need probably one of those structure that has the three yellow signs across. Are we responsible for that?
Yeah, we could talk with Superintendent Brooks about that.
Is there any way to pass that along to the developer as well?
We can mention it to him. Now, he would work with Greg on that anyway, but yes, sir, we could definitely do that.
That's really narrow and a very curvy road.
Yeah, I think there are some signs out there already. I know that there were some discussions about some of the signage out there during the public hearing, but yeah, we can, if there's not, we can definitely.
It's been several months since I've been down that road, but I don't recall anything of major vision, if you will, and with an abundance of traffic out there. Excuse me. I think there certainly needs to be some warning signs.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I can talk with Greg. We talked with Greg's office pretty frequently, so yeah, absolutely.
Doug, did you say there will be turning lanes required for those entrances?
Yeah, well, at least for the main one, yes, sir. Yeah. That other one's kind of right in the curve right there. It'd be kind of difficult to do anything. And now they have talked about some possibility of maybe some additional work at that other intersection. Now that's something that we'll have to talk with, again, with Greg Brooks about. But the turn lane's definitely for the main entrance, yes.
On the 5-to-1 vote, do you remember the concern of on the one?
Yes, I do. Essentially, they were concerned that, I mean, it was the conditions of the roads. That was the primary concern.
I've heard from some of the yeses that they regret that vote.
Well, it is just a recommendation at this point, so.
Doug, continue on.
Thank you. The second case that we have before you is for property located along Bradyville Pike. Go back to this. It's for Joe Swanson Jr. for Swanson Development, 3912 Bradyville Pike. Again, RM is the current zoning, looking to do a planned unit development on this as well. The applicant is proposing to develop the property into a 96-lot residential family subdivision, which is called Fox Camp Retreat. 72 of the units will be single-family detached dwellings, while the remaining 24 units would be single-family attached, essentially townhome-type units. In your staff comments, you'll see I put a little chart in there, just kind of giving a quick summary of the different aspects of both types. Minimum lot size for the detached, the single-family detached units would be 10,000 square feet, a minimum lot width of 80 feet at the front setback. Minimum dwelling size would be 1,600 square feet, 1,400 for the multifamily, or attached units, I should say. And I won't go through the entire thing, but that's pretty much what you're seeing right there. Street lighting is being provided along with sidewalks on one side of all public streets. Open space amenities are discussed as well in the pattern book. The biggest concerns that really came out of this discussion really had to do with a lot of the drainage in the area. A majority of this property, even though the property itself is about, just off the top of my head, it's about 122 acres. They're only looking to do about 117 for rezoning. The vast majority of the site is not going to be developed because there's a lot of low area in the back, flooding. Commissioner Serino, I think this is in your district, so you're probably familiar with it. But they're also going to be doing a lot of wetland preservation back in those areas, so a lot of that area in the back is going to remain undisturbed. The area they're developing is actually closer to Bradyville Pike. So most of the comments, again, at the meeting pertained to the drainage. Of course, there was traffic concerns and preservation of landscaping and buffering along Bradyville Pike. Several of the drainage-related comments were made during the public hearing. The Planning Commission also had questions following the hearing. Engineering staff said the drainage concept does appear to be workable. They even think that after speaking with the consultant engineer, SEC, on the plan, that they might be able to solve some of the issues with the drainage out in that area. It may not be able to completely solve them, of course, but at least maybe make things better than what they are currently. So after discussion, the Planning Commission did recommend an approval of this application by a unanimous vote. This one was 6-0. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions on that.
Anyone? Chantel, sure.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know Mr. DeMusi and I were talking a little bit, and then before Mr. Swanson started, he spoke with me briefly about the plan. So since then, I haven't heard anything yet. So.
Okay.
The traffic study that they had did not recommend turning lanes for this, no.
Well, like I said, it's not my district, but if it was, that would be a priority.
I understand. But
and I do know the roads out there.
All right. What else, Doug?
Well, would you like me just to go into the fee discussion, Mr. Chairman, or do you want to approve the report I have so far?
Let's approve this report, and then we'll move on. Need a motion for approve Doug's planning and engineering report.
Motion to approve.
Second. All right. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Doug?
Yes, thank you. You've got a number of attachments on your iPads in addition to the normal reports that I usually do. During our discussion a couple months ago, of course, we had some discussion. Commissioner P. had discussed the notice, mail-out notices, and I've got some of that on here, but it also led to the larger discussion of our current fees and any possible changes we may have to that. We've gone over these particular proposals that we have right now with Mayor Ketron and Deputy the Mayor Sandlin on this. This is still kind of a work in progress, I'll just tell you that right now. I just really wanted to get some discussion from you all tonight. When you look at the file I'm looking at right now it's called Fee Schedule. Yeah, and it's got current fee and the proposed fee for Rutherford County on it. That's what I'm looking at right now. So what you can see on our current fees and what we're proposing for our base fees, It's not just a whole lot of changes. There are some that are fairly significant. I'll go over those, and I'll explain why we went down on one. I'll explain why we plan on doing that here in just a minute. But you'll see the biggest changes, okay, with preliminary plans and the lots, we would keep the $500 base fee, but take the per lot fee down to $50. Now, the reason we're doing that is our engineering staff and, of course, us as planning staff, we're looking to also institute some fees for getting some more return on looking at our land disturbance permits and also our construction plan review. Generally, after the preliminary plan really is just the master plan of the development. The real nitty-gritty with the engineering and really the heavy-duty analysis, if you will, comes at the construction plan phase. Right now, we don't charge any for that. So what we're looking to do is take down the preliminary plans, since the level of scrutiny and review on those isn't as high as the construction drawings, and looking to implement a fee there to help offset that loss, as well as some changes to our land disturbance permits. Again, that's something that's still kind of in the works right now. I didn't feel comfortable bringing that to you yet, but that's just something that is coming. Final plats and lots for major subdivisions, those are those that have infrastructure improvements like roads, easements, things like that. Those would stay the same. Our minor plats, we see probably just as a number of those, we see more of those, even though those are generally just 2 or 3 lot subdivisions. We would propose to raise those fees, the base fee by $50 and the per lot fee by $25. One of the larger changes that you see is for site plans. Right now, it's just a $300 base fee, and there's no other fees on top of that. Of course, now when you get to land disturbance, of course, there's fees there and building permit fees, but again, this is just for submittals. We would look at doing a base fee of $500 and then a 0.2 square foot, basically 2 cents per square foot of non-residential building area, or if it happens to be like a multifamily townhome development, it'd be $10 per dwelling unit. Waivers and zoning compliance, we wouldn't change. Zoning compliance are those people when they come in for a building permit for like building a new house on like a tract of land or something like that. Of course, we always check it to make sure there's no flood, the setbacks are good. Our engineering staff puts a lot of scrutiny into these too, especially if it's in a low area, because we don't want to see any flooding or anything, so that fee is for that. Some of the larger changes, again, on the zoning application side of things, we're looking at raising our rezoning fees from $500. Now, right now, and you see I've got that broken down into non-PUD plan developments and plan developments. Right now, it's just a $500 base fee across the board. Now, plan developments, the reason we're looking to double that amount to $1,000 for plan developments is just because, as you can see, the scrutiny that has to go into a plan development, when you see the pattern books that are on your iPads, like for the 2 we've got going to the county commission this month, it just takes more staff time, it takes more coordination to get all those comments together. A lot more review goes into those than, say, someone's just asking for a non-PUD, what I'd call a conventional zone. So we would propose to up the conventional non-PUD zones to $750, and then our PUDs to $1,000. And our last section that we were looking at there were our Board of Zoning Appeal fees. We would propose right now, again, variances and special exceptions are $300. We propose to double that to $600 for all those. Administrative appeals, we're leaving at $100 simply for the reason that we hardly ever see any of those. Administrative appeals, there's a section in the ordinance that allows an aggrieved party that doesn't agree with the decision either I make or that Tanya Bell would make in enforcement of that ordinance. If they disagree with the decision that was made, they can take that decision to the Board of Zoning Appeals. I've been with the county now for almost 15 years. I think the whole time we've been here, I think we've seen one. So it's just not something we see very often, quite frankly, which I think speaks to the clarity of the regulations. So I think that's a good thing. But one of the big things that we looked at with the Board of Zoning Appeals is the fact that with the total cases we had last year, just looking at the total number of Board of Zoning Appeal cases was 35. Looking at our current fee, that would be a little over $10,000. If you were to take, let's say every Board of Zoning Appeal member made every meeting for the year and every meeting was had, that fee would be $12,600. So that board's not even, just in that regard, it's not even paying for itself right now. So that was one of the reasons we were looking at raising the fees for the Board of Zoning Appeals. So that just kind of gives you an idea where we're going with this. Again, this is really for discussion purposes. If you've got suggestions, comments, or anything, we're more than happy to hear those. We'll come back to you with more refined numbers when we have a better idea of what direction that we're going. So I think this gets the discussion started, which I think is kind of where I thought everybody wanted to go with this. So be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Dodd.
Thanks, Chairman. Remind us of your goal. Is your goal to receive less funding from the property tax to be self-sustaining, or?
Well, the fees that we currently are charging, we have not changed in over 10 years. So we think it's time to look at this, and we've been looking at this on and off over the last few years. Number two, I think we need to be more self-sustaining than we are right now. I don't think as a department we'll ever be completely self-sustaining. I know building codes, they issue a ton more permits and things that we ever do in a year, but we'll never get to that point, I don't think. But I think we can at least try to close the gap some in that regard. So that's kind of the main goal, is really just trying to bring our fees up to the amount of work that really goes into some of these tasks that we do, especially when we look at these construction plans for new subdivisions, when we look at the construction plans for new non-residential development on site plans. A lot of work, especially like a site plan, a lot of work goes into reviewing these plans, making sure the drainage works, making sure the landscaping's in place that has to be there, really looking at that, and for $300, I mean, quite frankly, it's a bargain. And I'm not trying to say we're not trying to fleece the development community by any means, but at the same time, it needs to be fair.
And I understand closing the gap. That makes sense. And if you charge enough to be self-sustainable, that might be too much to charge. But if you're charging more for those tasks that take more time, you're not going to speed up the outcome, correct?
Right.
You're just going to get paid more for the same outcome, same number of lots approved over the year.
Yeah, and another outcome to that, if we're able to raise more fees, and maybe we're able to provide justification for additional personnel. In our budget this past year, based on the mayor's recommendation, of course, y'all's approval, we are currently advertising for a new engineering position. So we appreciate that, and we hope that will help. Now, that we just started advertising that within the last couple of weeks, so we're hopeful that we'll see somebody on board here before too long.
Would your fee schedule be comparable to, or more or less than, say, like a Williamson County?
We actually, what's that?
It's still cheaper.
Well, yeah, depending on the category you
including
look
Wilson
at,
County.
I've actually got and I don't have this on your iPads, but we keep up with a chart in here that, it's in here somewhere. Here it is. That this is from fee comparisons as of last year, as we looked at. Now, some of these, it's a little, because we've looked at counties, we've looked at municipalities. Some municipalities, like Brentwood, Franklin, Smyrna, they've got impact fees on top of their base fees that, we're not allowed to charge. But we're higher in some regards than some of them. We're lower in some than others. It's kind of all over the place. It's all over the board, really, when you look at it. When it comes to rezonings, I will say that based on what we looked at of the surrounding areas, our rezonings probably will be kind of toward the high end, if not I don't think the highest, but pretty close to the highest. But even that, like I said, last year, when you look at just the raw numbers for like rezoning case, I mean, this isn't, will it generate more income? It will. But when you look at just the raw number of applications, like Board of Zoning Appeal cases was 35 last year. Even doubling the fees, you're going from 10,500 to 21,000. For rezonings last year, we had 30. And this year we've only got so far 12. So last year's numbers, you're looking at $500 a case, you're looking at $15,000. Now with this new system that we're looking at, breaking it down into PUDs versus non-PUD type zoning, that would go up to $25,250. So it's not quite doubling. So we are generating more income, yes, but again, it's not like we're raising, hundreds of thousands of dollars or anything like that, just in those two particular categories.
Doug, I have a. Would you help me understand the site plan proposal?
Yes.
I understand the $500, but Explain the caveat below that.
Yeah, it's basically, it'd be 2 cents per square foot. The reason for that would be larger sites. You know, if you have like a 50,000 square foot building, those would require probably more scrutiny than if you saw one with a 10,000 square foot or a 5,000 square foot building. So the larger the building that you are trying to construct, the more detailed it's going to be, the more work it's probably going to be to review it. So the larger the site, the more expensive it's going to be to submit for review, as opposed to a one that isn't so large.
Okay, and then explain the next part, the
$10 per dwelling. Yes, sir.
or.
Yes. There are some developments that we look at that are townhomes. We are starting to see a little more of those. So instead of the 2 cents per square foot, you would just look at $10 per dwelling unit.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be both. You wouldn't double dip on that. If it's a non-residential, you do the 2 cents per square foot. If it's a residential townhome type development, say they have 120 units, that's an extra $1,200 that you'd be looking at.
Gotcha. On the very first item, preliminary plans and lots.
Yes.
Where you explained why you're reducing the lot from 100
Yes, sir.
to 50.
The reason we're looking to reduce that is, A, the level of review and scrutiny isn't as high on preliminary plans. That's just the master plan. We're not getting into the engineering review of those things. And on top of that, what we're proposing to do is that's when we're going to institute we'd like to institute like a construction plan review fee. So the fees that we would lose there, the plan is to make those up during the construction review phase, because that's really where the heavy analysis goes.
Okay, and that fee description is not on this page?
That's correct. That's still being worked through right now.
Okay,
Yes,
and
sir.
you also mentioned, I think, a land disturbance fee increase?
Yes, that would be part of that as well. So that's not listed on here, because again, that's still something that's kind of going through engineering and us as we're...
And have you and Mike, I know you've kicked it around a time or two in the past, but a stormwater quality fee, has that been a recent topic of conversation?
Not specifically called that. What we're looking at right now is the construction plan review fee, and then kind of redoing the grading. Basically, land disturbance has become a grading plan, or a grading fee, grading permit fee.
Okay.
But I can ask him about that. We haven't had any discussion specifically about a quality type fee.
Okay, all right. Does anybody have comments on Doug's proposal or proposed fee schedule? Doug, are you looking at this body to give you a recommendation to move forward?
Just kind of a thumbs up or thumbs down, yes, sir. Just, are we on the right track, I think is ultimately what we're looking for. So.
When would these go into effect?
Really, it'd be up to you. Whenever you guys, when we get, I'd like to do it all at one time, as opposed to instituting some of these now and then instituting some later. I think it'd be easier to do them across the board. We need a little more time to look at the construction plan review, if you changes and things. So I'll be bringing that to you next month. So
Make any,
I don't think any changes need to be made now. But as long as you think we're all moving in the right direction, that'll help us as staff to continue to move forward.
All right, let me ask you this question. Could you have all the fees proposed and signed off on by full commission by January 1?
I believe we could, yes, sir.
At the latest, let's
Yes,
say?
sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I really think we could.
Okay. Do you have a question, Shanto? Okay. All right. I think if you're just looking for a thumbs up, we'll look for a head nod. Are you guys all copacetic? Yeah. So am I, Doug.
Okay. Thank you.
So, yeah, you have full support.
Okay, very good. If there's other questions about any of this, I mean, just feel free to call, because, obviously, we're more
yeah,
willing
can
to...
you, I would like something. Can you give us the numbers now and then put them to your new numbers?
Yes, and we've already got
that for us?
we've already started some scenarios for that very thing. So, yes, sir, absolutely.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, random, can you have IT come reboot some of our technology?
Oh, spinning? Did you play with it?
I've turned it off and back on and unlocked it. It's still...
Okay. All right. Yeah, there's none in the back row, is there? All right. Will do.
Want this one? Okay, Steve's got it.
Doug, do we need to, we've approved everything?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
everything I had, so.
All right, thank you for your time and effort. And tell Michael the same thing. All right, Mac, are you ready?
Good evening, how are y'all?
Good.
Y'all were talking about litter grant stuff earlier. The litter grant fund's $113,200, something like that. And if you request to purchase those cameras and get permission from TDOT, and then the part of that grant funding, you won't get any extra money. But there's some, you can buy stuff if you get their permission.
Who does that, the mayor's office or you?
The workhouse.
Workhouse?
Workhouse doing all that now.
Mayor, can you check into that?
No, sir.
You actually have two reports. You have a June report and a July report. We don't normally do it, but I wanted to show you something on, because we had something going on different. Let's go through the landfill first. The landfill report for each month is pretty much understandable. It's not a lot going on as far as income. Now, in the month of June, if you'll flip on back, you can see where we spent a lot of money on leachate outbreaks and trying to repair and get it pumped and hauled.
I'm trying to find that report. If you have that number in front of you, Mac, will you tell us what that leachate number is?
Leachate, the money spent for leachate in the month of June was $37,827.92. The money spent for the contractor to dig the holes and keep working on stuff for us in that month was $20,560.
Thank you.
And if you go to July, find it in July. The contractor to move the dirt and stuff like that was $6,030, and the leachate was not on this report apparently.
Who's the contractor for that?
Belton Construction.
About the leachate, I see Milton, how do I?
On-site environmental.
On-site?
Now, they were struggling keeping up. They have other businesses to tend with too, so we hauled quite a bit of that ourselves with our own truck and own tank. Any question on the landfill?
What did you find that July leachate number?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay. I'm having trouble finding it too, so.
I think I'm missing a page. Missing that page on the report.
Right. We'll
But
come
it
back.
was pretty expensive as well. Any questions on the landfill stuff? I bet
What was
it,
that number on leachate again for July?
37.
No,
roughly
for June.
37.
I know June, what's July?
I don't have it in here. Well, we did it, but that page didn't get printed.
Oh, okay, because I'm sitting here going through it, okay.
But he said it was expensive.
Now, some good news on that is that we finally got those sumps repaired and going. We'll still have leachate to pump and haul, but it should slow down for a little while until something happens again. And then any other questions on the landfill stuff?
Are we pumping anything to Republic?
Gravity flow. We don't actually pump it. We pump it out of a well up to our tank, and then we'll open the valve and the gravity flows over there, but it's less than 1,000 gallons a month.
I mean, can that increase or decrease?
The areas of the leachate's two different areas of the landfill, so they're not connected.
No, I'm just saying, is that something that would normally be more than what you're doing right now?
No, that's normal for that area. That's normal. Now, that's not a lot, so they're not concerned about it. They're actually set up to charge us. They never have sent us a bill for it. Now, the stuff that we've been pumping and hauling, they wouldn't take that. It's too much.
Okay.
Are we pumping anything to Republic?
What was that number on leachate again for July?
37. No, for June.
37. What, I need, I know June, what's July?
I don't have the, I don't have it in here.
All right, go on, Mac.
Any other questions on the landfill? If you look at the next page of the reports, you're looking at the solid waste convenience center, and where I want to draw your attention is toward the bottom of those pages. The month of June, if you look at the front loader stuff, we did something we'd never done before. We ran the trash route all month long because there was 14 county schools and most of the city schools running the learning thing. They didn't call it summer school, but they were generating trash, so we had to run with them. The recycle, they don't recycle as much, so we could run our summer route on the recycle side of it. But for the month of June, trash recycle combined was 298.78 tons. That's a 23% recycle rate. For the month of July, remember they don't have students there in July, it's 239.76 total tons, 27% recycle rate. So it's about a 60-ton difference between the two, just because the students were there 1 month. And then you see the other convenience center report as well. So we stayed fairly busy, but it's pretty consistent. If you flip to the end of the page for July and June, numbers are pretty consistent with where we were last year. Any questions on the convenience center?
All right, moving on.
Now you want to approve those reports?
Yeah, if you're finished with those. Need a motion and a second.
So move.
Second.
All right. All those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
All right.
City of Murfreesboro has a convenience center at 648 West Main Street, and they've struggled keeping it open because the hauler that provides the hauls for them does not run consistently enough. They ordered 6 30-yard open tops and had them delivered to their facility on Florence Road. We had to go up there with our truck to unload those for them. 4 of those 30-yard open tops are now in that convenience center on West Main. The other 2 are still up at fleet maintenance. City of Murfreesboro wants Rutherford County Solid Waste to haul those open tops for them and charge them. The way I've always tried to come up with a charge is the convenience center budget has all the drivers, all the convenience center staff, the trucking operation, everything's within that budget. I keep up with the productive hours of the truck. So if Commissioner Blair is one of the truck drivers and he breaks down for 4 hours today, those 4 hours don't count as in these numbers that I'm going to show you. So the amount of money spent versus truck hours. Out of the budget last year, this convenience center budget, we spent $2,736,657.9. That's how much we spent. We were actually budgeted $3,611,677, a difference of $875,000. The number of productive truck hours for that same time period is 19,975.95. So when you do the math on that, that's $136.99 per hour. To haul their convenience center to the landfill and dump it and back to the convenience center is going to be about 90 minutes. And to haul their fleet maintenance is going to be a little less than that. It's going to be somewhere around 70 minutes. So what I'm asking for y'all to do is 1, we'll have to do an agreement with the City of Murfreesboro, and then 2, we'll have to approve what that haul rate is going to be. The haul rate, I'm saying should be $205.48. That would be per load. Now, they get free disposal just like we get free disposal, but when our drivers go in on the scales with their load, we will tell them it's City of Murfreesboro. That way it counts as their disposal, not ours.
Why do they not haul it themselves?
They don't have roll-off trucks.
Why don't they buy one?
That's the only roll-offs that they have. So they would have to buy 2 roll-off trucks. To make it work, you got to have a spare.
Are you taking in consideration of our trucks sitting in line for 2 to 3 hours to dump?
Sometimes that happens, but this haul price is not including that. That's just the average haul.
How's that work? I mean, I see what you're saying on per load, but what he said, and you just said, what's that price? Are you just going to estimate that, or?
We're covering our cost at $205.48 covers our cost for an hour and a half to run the truck. That's the driver, that's everything.
If they're at Republic for 3 hours, is it $205 per hour?
No, $205 is for an hour and a half. If you're going to do if you're going to do it per hour, it's $136.99.
You're basing that on 90 minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
So let me make sure I understand, Mac. This is not a one-time thing. They're asking us to haul
those
from now on, right?
Just those open tops they purchased. They still have their contracted hauler, their private hauler does their trash compactor and their cardboard compactor and their open tops.
All right, so let me ask this question. Is there a private hauler or a private trucking company that has this equipment that would give the city a price to do the same thing they're asking us to do?
I'm sure there is.
And you know it would be hugely expensive.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm not about to do anything at cost. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be profitable, because it's taken away, it's an opportunity cost. It's taken away our time and our drivers and our place in line. So it's more than the $205 for an hour and a half. It's what we're missing out on that it's hard to put a number on, which I think is what Chairman Harris was alluding to. So,
Is there a way to take in consideration wear and tear on the vehicle?
well, yeah, that too.
Well, the amount of money we spent includes fixing the vehicles. So when we wear and tear and have to repair the trucks, that's in that budget number that we spent already. That makes sense?
I got two bookends, so whichever wants to go first. Okay.
Thanks, Robert. I've lost my train of thought. So you've previously been talking about how difficult it is to keep drivers, and you're working 7 days a week. Do we have the capacity without hiring anybody and with the current fleet to take on those roll-offs?
Yes, the answer is yes. Right now, we're short drivers. We hauled 37 loads today, 8-hour day for everybody, no overtime, but we're actually 4 drivers short. I had one scheduled to come in for an interview at 10 o'clock this morning, and I talked to him yesterday and explained to him what the pay would be and everything else, and he said, I'm not sure I can do that. And I said, I understand if you decide not. So this morning he called about 9 and said, I've already taken a job somewhere else, pays more. I understand.
I seem to recall that there have been conversations of convenience centers having to close because we're not able to transfer and make swaps, and you're loading your yard with dumpsters on the weekends to make sure you're effective, and et cetera. Taking on another convenience center, will that provide less service to our current centers? If you have time to do all that, can we avoid closing our current centers?
We have never closed a center because it got full in the last 3 years. Now, well, last more than 3 years. But prior to August of 2014, yes, sir, we closed centers late on Sunday afternoons because they got full. But when we stopped accepting the open top trash on Sundays, we don't get them filled up and have to close. But to answer your question, yes, sir, I think we can haul those. Now, they would have to follow our same rules and not accept commercial debris and all that kind of stuff, and then they would still need to do the 3-item limit or whatever our limit is to be the same as us. Now, and some of you probably weren't around when we did it. Used to, if you've been around Murfreesboro a long time, we had Kroger stores with recycled containers behind them or in a parking lot somewhere. The Kroger stores had kicked us out, so all we had left was Haley Road and Sam's kicked us out. So I called the city solid waste department and said, hey, we got 2 glass containers we don't have a home for. Can we put them in your center? So the 2 glass containers at the City of Murfreesboro Center are our glass containers, and we haul them when they get them full. And then we're hauling the scrap metal, which is, for them, scrap metal is tin cans and aluminum. We haul that, and then we get the revenue for it, too. So we've been hauling their recyclables, just not their trash.
Robert?
Well, you're right about bookends. I had the same question Commissioner Dodd had, but I have another question or two. Do we still have any, or are there any drop-off points at MTSU? Used to be on Greenland Drive there, so all that's gone and cleaned up. Okay. Now, my question about this is, who are you negotiating with, and who asked you to do this?
The solid waste department has asked me to do this.
Well, here's my suggestion. My suggestion is you turn around and see that guy sitting to the left of the chairman, have him negotiate for us. That's my suggestion.
I'm good with that.
Move the puddle.
When did this occur, Mike? This is news to me.
We've been talking about it for quite a while. And
No, sir, I haven't. It hasn't come to my office. You haven't come to me. This is the first. You continue to do this. You blindside the commission and me without negotiating. You work with solid waste as opposed to me working with the city manager and the mayor. I don't know anything about this. I'd be happy to sit down if you'd call me and say, Mayor, let's go talk to the city. This is what they're asking. Do you just come in and make the motion?
Okay, I understand.
Obviously you don't, because you continue to do this.
I was just trying to help the city get where they want to be.
Is that our job?
Sir?
Is that our job?
We're neighbors. We try to help our neighbors when we can.
We do all the time, but I think that we all sit down and work together, not, staff to staff. I think there needs to be something that, I need to be talking to the mayor. I mean, we talk every day. We're talking about COVID, we're talking about landfill, everything else, but then staff to staff, I'm just perplexed. Not happy about it.
All right, Robert, good point. We'll let the mayor, or the mayors, or the departments work that out. I voiced my opinion. They're talking about building a transfer station out of Joe B. Jackson. If they want to be in the garbage business, they're going to need equipment. Maybe they need to buy their own vehicles and gear up, but
Only thing I'd like to add, Mr. Chairman, I applaud Mac for working or trying to work with the city and help them. We're all in this together. I mean, I've got constituents that are in the city of Murfreesboro and in the rural areas. Yeah. Many of you do, where we didn't used to. It was us versus them. That's not the case anymore, and really we all need to work together there. However, Mac, I love you like a brother, but the mayor's got a valid point there. Some of these decisions you're making, ask us. Ask him. We'll work with you. I'll help you any way I can. I promise you that. And I know the mayor will too, but you got to ask.
okay. All right. I think we've concluded that particular item.
Okay.
It still sits out there, so, Mr. Chairman, we need to take what we learned here tonight. Let me reach out and see if Mr. Tyndall, the city manager, is aware. I would assume he is.
I assume so. I've not talked with him.
Well, then, let me reach out to he and the mayor and see if, and you make a good point, Mr. Chairman. If they're going out to Joe B. Jackson, are they not going to have some transfer trucks like Commissioner Piercy talked about. They're going to have to
I
have some
understand that
open
on the
top.
transfer station would be, their current garbage trucks would go empty out at the transfer station, and they would have a private hauler hauling that somewhere else.
That's all information.
Still a lot of communication that needs to be had.
Yes, sir. But I'll reach out and be prepared to come back next month if that's acceptable.
If I may add, I hate to beat this one up, but thank you, Chairman. Perhaps you discuss, it sounds like we're already handling glass, metal, we're hauling containers. The only thing we're not handling is the compactors. Is that correct?
No, they have cardboard and paper we don't do, and their plastic we don't do.
So the glass containers, metals, and the open tops of 30 yards.
On tops, and we don't haul any of their trash. Just the tin, aluminum, and the 2 colors of glass.
All right. Continue on, Mac.
Okay. I passed out another sheet. This is what we spend with Dynamics, our electronic recycling company. The contract expires August 27th of 2022. Finance and the trustee's office are trying to get us to where we can have internet connection at Haley Road and accept cards instead of cash. When we started at Haley Road, the way we priced the structure was to avoid having coin change and dollar bills. And when we started, we were paying 25 cents a pound. So the charge at Haley Road is $5 per 20 pounds. So the scale is 0 to 20 is $5, 21 to 40 is $10 on up the line, and there's no limit to it, it just keeps on going. So that's what we've been charging all this time. When we rebid and the contract changed, we're spending more than we were, but we've not changed the price. So what I'm asking to do is, once we get to where we have the capability to charge with a credit card or a debit card, we charge these prices, and then they just pay for what the actual weight is. So it'd be for a monitor, right now we're charging basically 25 cents, $5 per 20 pounds, it'd be 30 cents a pound. And for televisions would be 30 cents a pound. Right now we're not charging anything for printers and fax machines, that's 15 cents a pound. And we're not charging anything for the salvaged electronics, which is 35 cents a pound. Or we're not charging anything for the consumer electronics, including microwaves, which is 19 cents a pound.
So a 100-pound TV would be, what, $30?
Pretty close, yeah. No, it's more than that. I'd have to look at my list, Robert. I can't do that math on top of my head, but there's...
Yeah. I think that would be right.
All right, now to give you some more numbers. What we looked at was last year's budget. Last year's budget was 177.18 tons of electronics shipped out, and we paid the contractor $136,501.90. In that number, we had, on 3 different occasions, we handled lithium battery water meters. Water department changing out meters. Those meters were $4 a pound. So we need to back that number out because we're not going to do that for them anymore. But it was 8,409 pounds for $33,663. So if you do that math, it changes the number. You take all that away. The average, where I'm going with that, the average price per pound was 38 cents. That's got that expensive $4 a pound stuff in it. So if you take that number out, it was 345,968 pounds, $102,865.90, which is an average of 29 cents a pound. Mr. Blair asked the question earlier, we don't have anybody else that's been bidding on this process. The reason for that is 70%, roughly 70% of what we take in is televisions and monitors. Those are the hardest things to deal with. That's the reason nobody else really bids on our stuff, because they don't want to mess with that. So that's the majority of our weight. But what I'm asking here, which we're not ready to do it yet, but I want us to be prepared once we get the capability of being able to take cards, can we just change the price structure and charge what we have to pay?
Question for the committee. I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Steve.
Have you factored in the transaction fee and the processing fee for these cards on top of it?
That was my question.
It's a considerable amount. It'll be 2%, and then there'll be an addition of that on the other end when you get your bill. You might want to add that to it also.
So the fee would need to be higher than this to cover whatever that is?
If you're going to break even.
Yeah.
If that's your goal.
Is 2%?
What you're
is that what it is? Per charge for that? Yeah.
It's not counting the membership fee that you got to pay also. You like Visa or American Express, you had to pay a fee, and then it's 2% surcharge on top of that.
Yeah, the trustee's office handles that part of all that, and they've already done that for our landfill, and then they do it for, I guess, some of these other departments that collects fees that way. I don't know. We don't have a fee structure like that.
Mr. Chairman, along those lines, so people paying cash, you're going to start doing nickels and dollars. If you previously said you had it weighted to where you would only charge increments of $5 or $10, and therefore you tried to avoid coinage and dollar bills. Are you going to dispense with that with this fee structure, and those who wish to pay cash, you're going to have change? And
what I'm proposing is we don't accept cash, just card only.
I don't think you've read the small print on the dollar bill. Good for all and any debts.
That was in the old days.
Collecting cash at remote locations is a nightmare for finance and everything else. That's what we're trying to get out of.
The only thing I wish, and I can see you wanting to break even. I don't have a problem with you, putting our cost on there. But as Commissioner Piercy mentioned, we need to look into what our actual cost is going to be. We can probably get some help for you for that. But my thing about all of this is I don't want to continue to see TVs and such on the side of the road. And I'm still seeing that.
All right, so I don't think any of us have a problem with the increase. I just want to make sure, Mac, that perhaps you stop by Teb's office or find out for sure. We want to incorporate the extra. We want to make sure the credit card fee cost is paid by the consumer and not us.
Right. And they've been working toward trying to get us in that position, but we don't have a telephone service there at Haley Road. So we've got to get internet connection, landline type connection before we can move forward with anything else.
Yeah. All right. Any other discussion on these fee proposals? All right. Is this something you want to bring back to us next meeting with Teb's recommendation, or you want to adjust, or do you want to just?
Well, all I'm doing right now is letting you know what we're trying to to get ready for.
Okay.
And what we've been doing, and we have the opportunity to actually charge what we're paying. You know, like on our tires at the landfill, they're $65 a ton or $1 a piece. That's what the state reimburses us, so that's all we charge.
Yeah. Well, let's get off the rail just a second. Is it this committee's desire that all things that we take in terms of recycles, tires, things like that, do we want to at least be at a break-even point and not go in the hole? What's the committee's desire here?
Well, a quick thought is, if we're thinking more globally, Director DeMossi just said we can't charge enough to pay the cost at planning and engineering, for instance, right? Did I hear that correctly?
He can't
I guess at some point the common good and the, if we charge too much, then a customer's going to go dump at out at Mr. P's district. So that's just my first thoughts, is we just may not be able to do that in all cases in government, as hard as it is to say.
Right. Well said. I mean, it's, you know, it's you put your business hat on and you ask, well, you would think logic would tell you at least ought to break even though this is a county operation, you at least ought to break even.
This may be the perfect case to do that, so I would like to look at each of them individually. I just had that anecdote in my mind as you asked.
Yeah.
This may be a case where we break even or profit. I'm not suggesting either way, but...
All right, very good. All right, Mac, well...
In effort of full disclosure, that $5 per 20 pounds, most often that transaction is just 2 to 3 pounds over that limit. So you bump it up to the next $5. So by doing that over the years, we are not covering all of our costs, but we're a lot closer than what we would have if we hadn't done it that way.
I guess while we're on this dynamic discussion, is Dynamic's price structure to us set for the next several months, or?
It's set until August the 27th of 2022.
Okay, all right.
So we'll need to rebid this sometime the spring of 2022.
All right, so we have a year with them at these rates, okay. All right, what else?
Eagleville, if you remember the convenience center, the little building burned almost a year ago. I think it's 10 months ago now. But we have been renting a mini mobile out there, and the rent is $377 a month. We rented it for 10 months, so we spent $3,770. At the time we started renting this, they offered to sell us that building. Now, rent does not go toward purchase. It's just straight rent for a little less than $8,000. So do we want to look at purchasing that building or a building like it, or we want to wait till other convenience centers and see what kind of buildings get built?
So
Mr. Chairman, I would prefer to wait until next year. We're going to be talking about 4 convenience centers tonight, and I'd prefer just to go ahead and pay the rent, and let's see if we can do the other, the balance of that in next year's budget
year. Okay.
Yes, sir. Because if we do that and we redo Eagleville, what are we going to do to that building?
Now, the building they have is what you see in a lot of construction sites.
Right, right.
But thing sits flat on the ground. Yeah,
but our plans,
heat and air, and it's.
Yeah,
I mean, they're good with it.
It's a metal.
Yeah, construction trailer.
Construction box.
Yeah. Okay.
But
all right,
it gets stuck with something if we're going to. Our plans is to redo those facilities and put in something a little more permanent.
Committee have any comments on that? All right, Mac, we'll just continue paying rent for the time being.
That's all I have.
Wait just a minute. Rent's $3,000 a year?
No, rent's $377 a month.
Better than $3,000 a year?
Yes, we've had it for 10 months, so we paid $3,770 so far.
You intend to fix the Eagleville Convenience Center within 2 years, you think?
Yes, sir.
Think you can get it done? If you don't, we'll go in the hole by not buying the building.
I think our intent was if it won't take us 2 years to do this, surely not. You know, next year's budget, if we can work it in, we'll go ahead and start on the other convenience centers. And construction time's only 3 months, about 3 months.
It's your call.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Steve, Mark, it's 10 after 7 on August. All right, Max, so that concludes your report?
Yes, sir.
All right, do we need a motion to approve? And a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we want to certainly discuss the 4 convenience center upgrades. We have currently on the ballot Leanna, Rockvale, Walter Hill, and Weekly.
Chairman Cush.
Yes, sir.
Before Mac leaves, where did the equipment that we purchased to go to Leanna several years ago, where is it today?
We have purchased and received all the roll-off equipment and the compactors that would go to Leanna, and they're stored at the Rutherford County Landfill. We also have purchased and received all the equipment, but not the compactor machines, to go to Rockvale. The intent for Rockvale was to take some machines that we have and rebuild them.
Thank you.
All right. We have on the board to take these 4 convenience centers and move them forward to the bid process to get these revitalized and make them convenient. There is one question, however, we want to talk about tonight, and that is the Walter Hill site. That land currently sits on property we do not own. We are in a lease, and I'm going to use the word agreement loosely, but we are currently in a lease with Republic on that land. So the question has come up is, do we invest capital on a convenience center on property we do not own? So that's what we want to discuss tonight. The mayor has a thought about perhaps moving that site or consolidating that site. I'll let him bring you the details on that, but for sure we're going to bring 3 of these 4 out to bid. We're going to talk about Walter Hill. So if you will bring us up to speed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and at some point in time, Mr. Bradley's here, Jay Bradley's here with us, so you may want to move to suspend the rules, let him come forward, and so we can discuss this as we move forward. My intent was to ask, and then the more I thought about it, once we opened the meeting, I don't think we're quite there yet to appropriate the money, because we don't have any, the numbers haven't, we've got some rough numbers on the 4 locations, but this will, maybe by this time next month, we can refine them. But what I would like to do is ask the committee to move forward and let Mr. Bradley prepare us to go to the purchasing committee and put it out to bid for the 4, except for, with the caveat, we need to discuss Walter Hill. Walter Hill, as you stated, is on property leased to us for, I don't think there's any money been exchanged from our adjacent neighbor, Republic. Do we want to put money into that, our money into that facility when we don't have some long-term commitment? Now, I have been negotiating with a gentleman who owns property right down the road, but he wants to sell the property. He did shoot us a price of $350 plus he'd throw in, I don't know how many surgical masks, but then he has come back and dropped it probably $75,000 on the piece of property that he's willing to negotiate. but we would be responsible for putting the road in, so that would probably eat that back up. Or do we wait until we start? We know that this time next year, we're going to be using the American Rescue Grant money to start the Walter Hill Public Health and Safety Building there at the elementary school. By next June, we should be breaking ground once the money's here. So we should be able to do that. So that's going to leave the current fire department vacant once they move over to the elementary school site. That is adjacent to this piece of property, so I don't think, there's only about a half an acre, Commissioner Piercy, where the current fire department is. Yeah, about a half an acre. I don't know if that would add more to the current location, and we work something in between a land deal with the current landowner to give us more room there. I need some discussion. If y'all don't have a problem with putting money into property we don't have, or do you want to take a little bit more time and look? And I know urgencies of the need to get that traffic off of Jefferson Pike is our biggest issue. So I'd like to hear some discussion on Walter Hill.
Well, personally speaking, I'd prefer not to put money into something I don't own. But I've got maybe a generalized question, and, you know, we kind of have a professional that is your deputy as far as property goes, and I know this would normally go through property management, but, I mean, I think it would behoove us to do a search. Now, I understand we've got a gentleman that's offering some property that's adjacent or in that area, but, you know, we may find somebody else right around that area that may have a couple of acres that say, hey, I'll give you a long-term lease or I'll sell it to you. So I think it would be in our best interest to have somebody look, whether it's the deputy or, you know, someone through property management, or we hire an agent.
Commissioner, you know anybody that's got 3 or 4 acres? We can go anywhere from 4 to 5. I told him we only needed about 4. Okay, is that 4 to 6? Okay. On what has been offered to us. Yes, sir.
I've already hurt the gentleman's feelings that own the property, so I'm sorry, but I'm not done either. The property that has been offered to us is virtually has no value whatsoever for anything else. It's a flat rock. It's at a dead location in the road where nobody needs to be slowing down to turn off to take their trash. It's out of a curve in a curve. It's across the road from Dunway's Chapel Road. It's hard to see out of that road to start with because the woods fade out real far on both sides. It's not a good location. I will not support that. I may not can keep y'all from buying it, but I will not support that location. If we're going to offer some type of money in the value you're talking about, let's put it out to the public and see if somebody's got a couple of 3 acres they'll take that for. Maybe out on 231. I would be all about moving it off of Jefferson Pike. You know, it doesn't do a lot of good moving up the street a mile if you're trying to get out of the fast-moving traffic and blocking traffic on that highway. But that would be my recommendation on the land situation, is put it out there, say, hey, we're looking for 2-3 acres, got this kind of money. Somebody may call you in the morning and say, come see me. You know, I have looked around, didn't have any idea what we were going to try to invest, but at that price, it's possible we can find a spot out there that would be more suitable than what we found so far.
I'm all in favor of that, Commissioner. I think Jefferson Pike's a dangerous location.
As far as the site at Walter Hill, we had it very close to Trine on the traffic situation. I don't know where we've got hemmed up at. A few more dollars might get the back gate where we can open it and turn the traffic in like we had planned to in the beginning until we can see what we can do.
Talking to Jay, I'm not sure why we can't go ahead and open that back gate.
All we needed was a little strip of pavement between existing pavement and the chain link fence so the traffic can get over as close as they can to the fence and out of the traffic going to the county landfill, what little there is there. It's not a lot of traffic up and down that road anyway. There's some, but not a lot.
Well, we could temporarily go ahead and, that plan that we looked at last year to put in that turn lane,
right?
I guess we could go ahead and temporarily put that in until we can find a suitable site that would give us at least 4 acres and go ahead and open that up, that back entrance.
I asked for $20,000 and I think we spent $4,000 or $5,000 of that doing what we've got, and we're right at the point. We've already got the gate put in, the grade work's been put in, the covered pipe's been put in for the back entrance. We're very close. And as far as spending a bunch of money there on that site and not own it, no, I'm not for that either. But I think we can get that site in a better condition, if we can get some help. I think that's what we need, is some help to make that move forward.
I'm in favor of that, Mr. Chairman.
Do we need to talk to Greg Brooks, or do we need to?
Well, when we did talk to Greg was covered up, as we talked about tonight. He was flatly covered up with, and now most of his work is done. He's still got some finished work to do out at Plainview. I mean, his crews were pushed to the brink. In most cases, we can talk to him to see if he can help us out there. If not, then maybe Mr. Bradley might know somebody that can help us get that done temporarily. It'd buy some time until we maybe can find a more suitable site.
You want to talk to Greg?
Yeah, I'll call him.
Okay. Let's make a motion to suspend the rules in case Jay needs to come up and chat, if you guys don't mind. Any objections to that?
I'll make a motion, but I do have something I want to ask you.
Okay. Go ahead, Robert.
Go ahead and make that motion. I make a motion to suspend the rules so he can speak. We'll start with that.
Need a second? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Jay, come on up in case we have some questions for you.
Okay. I still got a question for you. We happen to own a lot of land right there ourselves, and I'll defer to Commissioner Piercy, but what about our landfill that we own? We got Landfill Road there. We can run traffic down Landfill Road since I think we own it, or at least we've got the right of way to use it. So what about putting a convenience center back there on our landfill property?
We have looked at that. Republic uses that. There's a crossroad there that they bring every load of dirt that they use right straight across. To do that, we would most likely have to put a red light in for Republic's trucks. And then it'd be a long ways back up there for 3-phase current, and the road would probably have to be resurfaced too.
Well, it's a public road, right?
No, sir. I don't think it's a public road.
We don't own it?
It's on the county road book. It's about as far as you can go.
Had to take the gate down because it was a public road.
That's very true. They had to take the gate down.
I mean, it looks to me like there's plenty of land there, and, it sounds like Republic's problem, not ours, if they got a problem with traffic backing up on them. They kind of have to live with what we've been having to live with Jefferson Pike backed up.
It's an ideal location. There's plenty of room back there for it.
Yeah.
And we already own it.
So what's the negative on that?
Getting the go-ahead to do it.
The go-ahead would need to come from where? This committee, it's not Republic's out of the equation?
Well, that's
our land. It's our land, right?
It's our land.
And the road is ours.
It's the easement to our land. It's a forever easement.
Okay.
They can't take it.
Okay. So they have no dog in the fight. All right.
Well, the thing, nobody's putting on the table, why did we not try to negotiate with Republic? I mean, I know the landfill closes in 6 years, and they may not get the RP, but they're not going anywhere. They got to be here for 30-plus years to take care of the landfill they got now. Worse, I mean, they have to do that. They can't go anywhere else. He's talking about putting $20,000 into a project, which I agree with. But I'm just saying, why didn't we not negotiate with them and see what we can get? And I'm not talking no 6-year plan. I'm talking a 20-year commitment. Now, my question to you, Mr. Mayor, is if you want to make these changes and all this stuff and update the convenience centers, what is considered, do we need a 20-year lease with them to justify the cost?
I would say so, yes, sir.
So, I mean, is that not an option this committee could look at also? Is because I'm trying to see, I think we're underestimating them. I don't think that they will necessarily say either give me the RFP or else. If we negotiate something before then, which could take 7 or 8 months, which is something you can do, then maybe we can get a long-term lease right here, giving him what he wants and not have to spend thousands of dollars looking for something else. I'm not saying, Steve, that we got to do something. But I mean, we don't have to do anything right now, and they'll have to be here for 30 years. They have no choice. So I don't see why we couldn't make a long-term deal with them and keep everything the way it is and do the upgrades and just for all that.
Sure.
Because I feel comfortable doing upgrades with a 20-year lease.
Well, Craig, and I appreciate the thought. It's not a bad idea. I think, though, we're not taking into consideration the comments about we would ultimately like, from a safety standpoint, get that traffic off of Jefferson Pike and put it somewhere else. So, but doing what you're saying is we're keeping it the same location, and that doesn't relieve the traffic issues. So,
Well, we hadn't spent before, and we don't know if it's helped or not because we hadn't got to the point where we can open the gate.
Do you feel it will help if we get what you want? We give you what you want, and it happens. Do you feel it'll help a lot?
If we can get the back gate open, we're probably going to give I'd say 12 to 14,000 of that 20 back. But still, we're going to be on land we don't own. And if you get a 30-year lease on it, we're still going to be on land we don't own. We need to be on land that we own if we're going to invest the taxpayers' dollars. That's just my thought.
It's not the 20,000. We're probably looking to do what Jay will share with you, what the other sites are looking at. We're looking somewhere between 750,000 to 1.3 million in the case of maybe weekly is what it's going to take with fencing and lighting and ramps and et cetera. So to invest that kind of dollars, we want to make sure that it's ours, or at least we have some long-term commitment of where we're going to invest our dollars.
And 20 years is a sustainable number.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. I think it's worth sitting down with Republic, whether that's the mayor, the deputy to the mayor, whoever.
Yeah,
I think it's worth a phone call, and
we can do that.
Have a lunch and say, look, we have this land, we have this agreement, we'd like to perhaps extend this agreement, and what's it going to cost us?
Have we ever asked them?
No, sir.
Have we ever asked them too for a long-term lease? I don't think we have. And
No,
number
sir.
two, have we ever asked them if we could buy that land?
No, sir.
That's not something we
in
can
my
do?
three years, and the committee hasn't asked me to ask them, and I'll be happy to do it, and I'll buy my own lunch.
Yeah.
I mean, we need a motion for that? I mean, I'd like to get every option. If we could buy the land from them, they haven't told you no, but if we don't ask, it's a guaranteed no.
Well,
Yeah.
I always say that. I wouldn't be married if I hadn't asked, right?
Yeah. If you feel more comfortable putting that to a motion to get it on record,
Well, we've suspended the rules. Can we do that during suspended rules?
That's a great question.
And I was going to bring that up, but the rules got suspended, so I support you completely. But I just don't know if parliamentarian-wise, can we do it until we...
We'll hold it for a second.
I still
Craig,
would
you're
like
right.
to ask a Walter Hill question.
Yeah.
Again, back to the safety. Even if we open up the gate and we've got traffic going down that lane, what is the issue going up and down Jefferson Pike, trying to get traffic still in and still out? What's the safety factor here, with that issue?
Want to take that, Steve, or Jay, do you want to?
I'll take it. The safety is if we bring them in the side and all the way to the back and come into the reverse side of the compactor, we're probably going to put somewhere around 40 to 45 cars in line off Jefferson Pike. And that will pretty well alleviate the backed up traffic on the Jefferson Pike.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, recognize Mr. Samlin. He called Road Superintendent Brooks, and a question on that road, whether it belongs to us, if it is a county road, he can inform us.
I didn't know if I'd get him, but I thought I'd give him a buzz right quick. So Highway Road Superintendent Greg Brooks answered his phone a while ago, and he said that it is, he looked it up, and he's got a road book at the house. I guess your Highway Department Road Superintendent would have one. So he looked it up, said it's a county road, 9/10 of a mile from Jefferson Pike all the way back to county property. And I said, so it is a county road and you're maintaining it? He said, yes. I said, what do we do about the trucks crossing the road? He said, well, Republic needs to have a flagman out there holding up traffic whenever there's a truck getting ready to cross. That's the way anything else happens. If anybody's moving dirt or something like that, or rock or doing something, then they have flagmen there to hold it up for that split second whenever they're going, and that would be their responsibility of crossing that road. So that would take care of your situation there if you wanted to put a convenience center up there at the county landfill.
Thank you, Steve. So if we long-term leased, or if we bought the property, then we're going to have to deal with the issue of Republic's traffic crossing the road?
No, Republic.
Okay.
County road.
Okay.
That landfill road is a Rutherford County road.
Right.
From Jefferson Pike all the way up to the landfill property.
So we're allowing them to cross.
So they're crossing at their own risk and everything right now, because we got people taking brush up there, and so there's public traffic going there right now. But really, Republic crossing with the dirt, they need to have flagmen out there.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Holding up the traffic while the truck comes across, and then you're free to go.
Gotcha.
After that.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, Steve. Let's hear from Jay so we can then get back to business. Jay, give us an update. I think that you have perhaps some potential budget numbers, I think, for us, and then tell us what your group has contracted with the county to get us up to what point to turn over to get ready to bid these to the street.
So to date, as the mayor just stated, we're the sites, the smaller of the two, Rockville and possibly Walter Hill, is our initial estimates around $750,000, $800,000 for the improvements. The larger sites, Leanna and Weekly, were about 1.4. We'll update those numbers once we have final design for at least 3 of the sites. I think we're holding off on Walter Hill now. Regarding Walter Hill, we do have a striping plan for that road to go back to the gate, to the new gate that's been put in. It actually will have 2, once you come off of Jefferson Pike turning right onto the landfill road, there'll be 2 turn lanes for stacking that could go into that rear entrance gate. As far as the contract that went through commission was to get the 4 sites all the way through the bidding process, and then we would renegotiate whatever kind of construction management, construction inspection that you would need us to do once we put those projects out to bid.
Jay, did you say to bidding or through bidding?
Up to bidding. Up to bidding. Ready to advertise for bidding.
Yeah, we're going to put it out to bid.
All right. So how are we on the
What's your
1-yard line, 5-yard line?
Timetable.
We've got we've got the Leanna and the Rockville sites ready to present to the county for review. Weekly is probably at about 75%. And then obviously Rockville, we've stopped to this point until we know that's what we're going to do. So I would say within the next month, as little as 2 weeks, we'll set up a meeting with county staff to review what we have and then go from there.
All right. So really, in a short period of time, we could be ready to advertise these in the paper and send out to appropriate contractors and so forth.
Now, there was discussion early if we should bid the sites individually. From our experience or what we're experiencing right now, I think you would get a better bid price bundling the 3 and or 4 sites. All construction right now is
crazy.
The price fluctuates quite a bit. Yes.
The bids that you've got there, the prices, does that consider any of the machinery?
No, sir, it does not.
That's just the foundations, the concrete, the fencing,
yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
The ramps?
Yes, sir.
Building gates, everything to turn over to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, everything to turn over for MAC to start bringing equipment in.
Yes, correct.
And that's infrastructure that's needed, for instance, electrical hookups, that's part of your bid? Okay.
And we'll refine those estimates over the next month or so as well.
Got good sewer hookups or septic tank systems?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, Robert, you do have water and sewer projected for all the sites? Some type of sewer?
You know, Mac's got, he's got porta potties at some locations. What we have talked about is putting in pump and haul, actually putting a restroom with in the house in the new building for our attendants. Like Williamson County, they do a pump and haul, you know, with a large tank. Just back. It's not open for, you know, customers.
And you have the demolition. I know these are just estimates; they're not bids. But do you have a line item for demolition of existing and removing fencing before you replace all that? My last question. Do you have consistency in all 4 sites? I know you've got all 4 sites are different topo and conditions. But otherwise, do you have consistency in, there's ramps at all of them. There's the building that Mac's people use are consistent at each one.
We tried. One of the tasks, or one of the items that we were tasked with was consistency in the perimeter fencing, for example, landscape, the type of asphalt we would use. We tried to have a ramp at each of the sites. Now, Rockville is a little unique. We started with a ramp, and after studying it further, we were able to have the containers at a lower elevation, and so people, instead of going up a ramp and throwing over into, they'll walk up to a wall and it'll go down, and the trucks can drive around to the back and pick them up. That was an idea we got from a trip to Williamson County. So we were able to incorporate that in Rockville. But the other 3 do use the compactors or the ramp, and the recycled bins, all similar.
Jay, along that line of Commissioner Dodds, are the metal or block buildings at the 3 and or 4 sites, are they all carbon copies where
yes,
if we ordered a metal building kit, we could order 4 each of style X?
That's the idea.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, while we're on that and talking about weekly, there has been an event that occurred week before last. Got a phone call from the vice president at Vijon, located down in Smyrna. They have a large presence. They're looking for additional space for parking closest to G Street, which is where we want to move off of weekly at our current site down on the, how many acres do we have down there? Next to Lisa Kroll's office, the clerk's office. We have 20 acres or 10 acres, whatever we have. We were looking to move down to G Street. And so they are interested in, they came up and looked at it. Mike Hughes, our engineer, sent them a copy of the plat. They're interested in either long-term purchase or long-term rental or purchase to park their employees there, and they will shuttle them back across to their other facility across the street. I haven't had an opportunity because they didn't send that to me until Friday or Monday of this week, and I haven't had a chance to sit down and talk with Mr. Hughes about that, so we'll bring that back to you. So at least the other portion, that property management had signed a lease with the city of Smyrna for 2 ball fields. We didn't sign a lease, we just said you can use for ball fields, and of course I talked to Mr. Hercules, and they really didn't implement them. We gave it to them. COVID hit, so they haven't really implemented those 2 ball fields on the other portion of that property. So we'll come back with a little more comprehensive plan to see what Vijon is interested in. And we still have the commitment from Mr. Hercules. If we vacate the current location, then he'll give us the right-of-way to bring the sewer from his location where his water department equipment and construction yard is. He'll allow us to bring sewer up to the current location, which we'll be able to either auction or sell that piece of property. It should go for $1.5 million. I'm hoping, which will help pay offset at least one of these locations, at least the one in Smyrna will be able to offset by selling that piece of property. Okay.
Nice, interesting, all right. So Jay, what do you need from us at this point?
Time.
Okay.
And that's just up and we'll get something.
All right, so.
Get something for staff review as soon as we can next.
Okay, so
4 weeks.
So those 3 of the 4 are back on the front burner to tidy up and send to staff?
Sure.
And you say, what, a month or so, 30 days? Okay, all right.
Question.
Yes, sir, Steve?
Well, my first question was, you said you had the striping plan for the Walter Hill area. Has it got to be signed off on by the state since it comes to state highway?
It's a county road, and I think we just found
But it
out.
comes to a state highway, and they'll have to feed off most likely from a state highway. We run into that problem.
Yeah, I thought that was an issue.
Yeah.
And I believe either Mr. Hughes or Mr. Friend with the Highway Department has contacted the state regarding that.
Okay. My second question, the price, I don't have the prices on these 4 centers, or I can't find it on this iPad. You told Mr. P a while ago that was only getting it ready, getting the site ready. What's the rest of it going to cost?
As far as equipment, I would have to ask
A finished product for any of the sites. Not talking about Walter Hill, any of the others. What will be the finished cost?
Yeah, I would need to defer to Mac for the equipment price. I'm not that familiar with what the compactors and...
This is my thinking, and this is just thoughts from one commissioner. There's 6 here, 6 other ones here.
Yeah.
We have talked about this forever. Ever since I've been on the commission floor, and this is going on the 8th year, we have talked about the convenience centers. I think that first broke out talking about poor Leanna down there. That's the reason they've got equipment sitting somewhere that's never been used. My thoughts on this, rather than jump out here and bury up 4 at one time, which I know that's what you're really wanting to do, is do one. Do it at Leanna, do it complete. You'll have on paper what it costs and go from there. Now, I think you're talking about spending the money out of max ending balance. You don't have enough to do them all. And if we do one, we'll know how far we can go or how much we'll have to get from somewhere else. You know, you possibly do 2. Do the one at Rockville, you know, Pettis out there, he's in dire need like everybody else. But the poor people at Leanna, I would recommend you do that one first. And really do a piling on it. And then we'll know what we're going to spend rather than get out here. One of them was $1.3 million. It could be that again to finish or more. You don't know. You don't have a clue. But if you do one, you will know. And I know you're using it before for bidding prices and all, but if you're going to get somebody to bid on them, they'll do them 1 or they'll do 4 anyway. That's my thing.
But we have new equipment for Leanna. I think that our intent was to use what existing compactors we have and open-top dumpsters. Outside of that, what else is there? I mean, everything else is included in what he's estimating. The building, the infrastructure, the ramps, the fencing, the landscaping, everything's there. So
I just asked him, and he said it was just site-ready. Now, is it counting the building, too?
Oh, yes, sir. Everything but the equipment that...
Everything but the equipment?
Right.
The compactors?
Yes, sir.
The way I understood it, it was just bare ground ready to go.
My apologies. No.
It's turning over the keys to Mac, ready for him to open up the gate and bring in new or used equipment and start business.
Yeah, it's a building.
That's I was confused with the question because there isn't really any extra cost after this because we're going to use existing equipment.
That's great, because I understood it. No building, just stubbed up.
No, sir.
Oh, no,
water,
no.
sewer, whatever.
No.
And the other would be extra.
No.
It'll have a building for the attendant. There's actually a little small building to cover the used oil, recycling as well.
You've also got a fire department proposed on there. You got that building in that cost?
We do on the Leanna side.
That's the one I was asking about. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We were looking at, I'd asked Mr. Bradley to look at what sometimes it's a brand name, I know, but it's a Quonset hut type building, curve, like Gomer Pyle lived in. And it's kind of metal, round. They're made up in Indiana. It's a Quonset hut building. All we need is basically heat, and I think we could probably put a used motor oil heater in there. We don't need it air conditioned because it's just a tanker. We just need to make sure that the tanker, in order to preserve our ISO rating in Leanna, is preserved. So just a heater when it kicks on, when the thermostat, temperature gets down too low.
Building environment, especially in Middle Tennessee, small jobs don't get picked up. It's the larger jobs that people are interested in. We had an experience with the school board about 3 years ago where we had what I guess was considered a small job, $1.5 million on 2 buildings, and nobody bid. And the environment at that time was about the way it is now.
That's why we were thinking either 3 or 4 at one time. It might attract some larger contractors.
Yeah, and get a bigger player involved.
Different, we just bid a utility project, sewer, and it was $2 million, and we had one bidder, and it was way over our estimate.
Any other questions for Jay? Jay, thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
And
thank you.
Continued work. Let's go back to Chairman Harris's comment and question about the discussion with Republic and the question about sitting down with him and asking about that piece of land.
I want to make a motion that we allow the mayor to go in negotiations with Republic on acquiring the land that is currently in the Walter Hill Convenience Center, or negotiate a long-term lease that we might be able to enter into as well. That's my motion.
All right.
I'll second that I'll second that. Do we need to consider the size? Do we? Never mind, I digress. I second that motion.
Any comment?
I don't have a problem with the mayor negotiating and talking to them about that. What I got a problem with is those cars on the highway. Until you've been over there and seen how much that backs up. And I mean, sometimes it'll go almost all the way to 231, and it's dangerous. I don't think if you doubled the size of that convenience center, you'd have enough space to get the cars off the road. That's personal opinion now. I may be wrong. That's why I suggested, back on our landfill, because you got the length of that road to work with. Plus, we've got room back there to turn around and let cars maneuver. And I don't have a problem with negotiating with Republic, on our terms, anytime. That's not the concern. The concern is, to me, is get those cars off the highway.
Well, wouldn't Commissioner Piercy's proposal not address that situation? And, Commissioner Piercy, does it not knock out, what'd you say, 40-something cars? So it'll alleviate that.
It will help. It may not get it all, but it will help. Anything will help at this point.
Well, let's not get the cart before the horse. Let's do this. We've given, as soon as I ask for a roll call, we will give the mayor the opportunity to sit down with Republic. Whatever they say, thumbs up or thumbs down. If it goes in our favor and we have the option to buy or purchase, then we'll come back and he'll say, all right, we can do this for this, or we can long-term lease for this. Then we'll decide if that's a reasonable price to pay, if it's feasible for us to do that, and then we'll perhaps get Jay involved and take one more look at the site plan and the property. And if it doesn't solve the safety issues, that's a different discussion. But I think what Robert wants to do and what you want to do is, let's just see what it's going to cost us and what the lease would look like first. Let's get that answer, and then when we get that information, then we'll go into part two, and that's, okay, is it feasible to do? If not, we'll move on. Tell them thanks, but no thanks, we're moving on. Is that fair? Yes, sir, Wayne?
At what point do we look at possibly getting a design on the property that Chairman P was talking about? Is that something we should do now, or is that for something down the road if this Republic opportunity does not present itself?
Let me ask the question. I'm going to answer the question with a question. Have we explored, even drawn it on a bar napkin, the option of putting a facility out there on that property? Okay.
I don't think so.
Not to your knowledge? Okay.
All right. That's something that we can endeavor to pursue now, since Jay said what he needed was time.
Refresh my memory, how many acres is out there on the dead end at county? So there's plenty of land. Because this is on our landfill property, right? Yeah, okay, I'm with you now. All right. So we've got plenty of land. He could almost pick up the he could almost pick up the Walter Hill design, move it on that new site. That's over exaggeration, but you could almost do that, right?
Cut and paste.
Yeah, cut and paste in the engineering world and be done with it, sort of, kind of. But I guess your question is, do we go ahead and, it's going to cost a little money. Do we are you making a motion to look at it?
I'd like to get some more comment from Chairman P. as far as what his thoughts are.
Well, my thoughts are, I got rear-ended on that road over there and almost killed. And my thoughts are, I don't want that to happen again to me or anybody else. And that's a dangerous situation until you go over there and you see the amount of traffic. And I was over there last fall, three different days, and you know, it'll take your breath away watching people dodge in and out of traffic. It's backed up for half a mile, and even when it's only backed up 300 yards, and that's a good day. That's a good day. There's people that dodge in and out with oncoming traffic trying to get around these guys that are trying to pull in that convenience center. Now, I'm like Chairman Harris here. Yes, I want to do the most cost-effective thing we can do, but if we can't get that traffic off that highway, I say no, let's not do it, let's move it on back. That's bottom line for me.
Is it possible to, are our rules still suspended?
No.
Can I make a motion to suspend again and bring Jay up to see if he can give us kind of an estimate on what it would cost to do that design?
Yeah. I did. Yeah, Jay, not to put you on the spot, but I think you understand where we're heading.
To move the existing Walter Hill site to a different location?
To the county road property.
Yeah, I mean, I think the existing contract is for the 4 sites. And because so little work has been done, you know, we've surveyed the Walter Hill site, but we haven't really gotten very far in the design. So I think the existing contract would just cover wherever the site is.
So it's a matter of going and the cost or would just be really surveying and restaking the new property. Okay.
And so it could likely be a $750,000 estimate just further back down the road.
Correct.
Well, since you walked back up there, to answer our questions, here's the question. With Commissioner Harris's suggestion here, if we're able to buy that property and save a little bit more, how much space are we going to need to get all that traffic that's been backing up on Jefferson Pike off the highway? Is it possible to do it at that location that we currently lease, maybe with adding a little more property?
Yeah, great question.
You're asking if we can pull all of the traffic now that's backing up on Jefferson onto the Landfill Road, leaving the site where it is now?
Well, right.
Without knowing exactly how many cars are on Jefferson, what we have, the striping plan that we have currently to go back to the new gate location on that site shows 2 stacking lanes on the Landfill Road, which would hold 10 to 12 cars each. So the 20 cars you'd pull off of Jefferson Pike. Now, if excuse me?
You'll have cars, once they get to the gate, coming into the back of the compactors lined up also. Did you count those into the?
I did not.
That'll get you several more cars.
Correct. I think the worst case scenario is the 15 minutes before it opens is what it, from what, you know, Mac and I, our discussion about the 15 minutes before it opens, maybe even 30, is when the longest line waiting to get in occurs. So any more than that, we would need to either push the site back farther down Landfill Road or a different alternative.
Can we get our planning department, since they've got equipment to do a study? I know we do turning lane studies all the time. Can we get them to do a study there for us, or count? I mean, I keep telling you what I've seen, and 30 cars, yeah, that's going to make a big difference. But then again, I've seen where 50 cars and 100 cars, I'd say 100 may be an exaggeration, but I mean, I've seen traffic backed up all the way to the ball field up there. I mean, well, exactly, and I mean, I've seen this like 2 or 3 days in a row. This is not like this happens at Christmas or the day after. No, this is happening too often.
I think, well, what we were tasked with initially was to figure out the biggest impact we could have without adding a lane to Jefferson Pike, which is a state route. And so using the existing location, you know, we could go in and see if we could add a third turning lane, maybe, add 10 more cars, but you're going to have to reconfigure the landfill road and do some other things, and that gets kind of awkward. But we feel the configuration we have now is the biggest impact without going through the TDOT process to add a lane or add a turn lane onto Jefferson Pike.
Mr. Chairman, I like to have choices, and I like Chairman Harris's suggestion to give the mayor the ability to negotiate for us, but also like the thought of if that doesn't work out or it doesn't meet our desires, that we have a plan B, and I would like to have both of those options on the table.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Question, and I don't know the answer. If this sounds stupid, forgive me. Is there any way that we can pull the traffic off Jefferson Pike and refigure Walter Hill's situation right now and to alleviate some of that traffic? Is there any way at all to do that?
Without moving the site, I think what we're showing gets the most cars for what we're working with. Once the gates open, then yes, they're going to be able to stack, you know, a few, 5, 6 more cars inside the site up at the compactor, plus what would be allowed in the 2 proposed lanes. But unless the site moves or we add a third turning lane, just for stacking purposes on the landfill road, I'm not sure. I'm not going to say it's impossible. It's just that's the best solution we've come up with today.
All right. So, do we need a motion for Jay to look at the Walter? Oh, that's right. That's right. And we have a second. We have a second. All right. So, we need roll call. All those in favor, signify aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That motion passes. Now, my question is, do we need a motion to have Jay's firm, as a Plan B, review the landfill road site as the new potential site for the Walter Hill Convenience Center?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. You look like you wanting to say something.
Well, I did, but it won't affect the vote one way or the other. Wait a minute. Who's going to tell him where?
Who's going to tell him where?
200 acres. Is he just going to walk out there and there it is? Or who's going to show the gentleman where we want it?
Well,
I don't want the job. I'm not lobbying for the job.
But that's what he gets paid for,
But it's a
isn't it?
great big place.
I think between Mike Hughes and Mr. Bradley, the two of them will be able to take the satellite, they'll look at the map, they'll be able to find something that's kind of level, or maybe even something sloped, similar to what they have in Williamson County, to where that whole site, whatever road that was on, we looked at it, actually comes down and slopes, and that's where the trucks go around to the back. People actually get out and and walk over to about a 2.5-foot, 3-foot concrete barrier and drop things in, and then the trucks will back in and pick it up and circle back around. So having a slope on a piece of property is good in this case for convenience centers. So I think they should be able to locate something fairly flat or sloped.
If we do the landfill road property, will we be required to put in a turning lane on Jefferson Pike or use what's there?
Well, I mean, we can. That's the thought process to this point has been to not do that, because that would slow down the process that goes through a whole TDOT process. That to date, it was to do what we could do without going to get TDOT approval to add a lane on Jefferson Pike, being a state route.
No, now, I'm talking about if we move it back on the landfill.
If we move it down Landfill Road?
Yeah.
And add a turn lane?
No, will we be required to add a turn lane? It's already shaped to turn.
Turn lane on Landfill Road? I'm sorry.
Turn lane on Jefferson Pike.
I don't know if I can answer that. I don't know if that would be required or if that's something the county, if they wanted to request it. You know, we'd have to maybe look at the traffic and see what that warrants.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Jay? All right, Jay, you got homework to do. You're dismissed. Any other questions? Yeah, don't leave. Just, any other comments? All right, I've got one thing for other business. Mayor, do you have anything? No. All right. Other business. I got and the mayor's office probably did too. I got an invoice from Caldwell Environmental Solutions, which is Becky Caldwell, for our last meeting for the amount of $350, which was the agreed upon meeting amount, per meeting amount. Do I need, Mac, does this need to go to you for approval? Does it need to go right to the mayor? You've already signed it and sent off? Okay. Do we have a standing meeting price for her in case we need her again in the future? Okay. Okay. I was under the impression that she didn't really have anything in writing, and so that's why she sent me a copy of this invoice. So yes, there's some, she knows that she'd be getting $350 meeting if we need her again. All right. All right. Gentlemen, thank you for your time and effort. We'll see you tomorrow night. We have this, tomorrow night's going to be good. Not that tonight was not stellar, but tomorrow night it's going to be really good. We have MBL, yeah, I have to say that slowly because I get it confused with Major League Baseball. MBL is going to present. They're the ones that take trash into building materials as well as other stuff, and it'll be an interesting meeting, so come prepared. Thank you all.